ThunderCats, Hello, Brian. Today is a very big day because we are talking to you about Thundercats and Silverhawks, and of course, there's something big that we would love to talk about. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. There's a lot going on in the ThunderCats and SilverHawks universe these days.
Something is coming. Something big is coming. That is what your website is saying at the moment. So, what is this big thing that's coming?
Wait. Are we just gonna gloss over the latest wave of Thundercats? Just I don't care about those guys. I want to know
No,
what's after that because you revealed that. So now I don't want to talk about that. Is
we'll
that what's
get to
going
that.
on?
Yeah, we'll get to
Yeah, we'll
that,
get to that.
we'll get to that.
Yes. I think we've been I think it's fairly obvious to everyone what we're teasing. Cat's Lair is coming, and it's big. It's really cool, and it will be on display at San Diego.
Okay, is that going to be the first time that we actually see the full layer, or are we going to see something before?
You know, there may be something that comes out within the 24 hours before San Diego starts, but roughly San Diego.
Okay.
The party starts at San Diego. All right, come on, Thundercats dance.
Okay, now is this going to be Thundercats themed pop-up like you've done before, or is it just going to be there?
It's going to be at the booth. It'll be at the
Okay.
booth at the floor of San Diego Comic-Con.
Ah, okay, all right. That's awesome. And I'm assuming since last we spoke, you mentioned that there is something big that might be ready for Comic-Con, and it will only go on pre-order later. Is this the Cat's Lair that you were talking about?
No, I mean, obviously we'll show off the Cat's Lair and then we'll start the pre-orders on Cat's Lair at San Diego. But it'll go for a while because obviously, everybody's got to decide where they're going to put it, and if they're going to have to get rid of a child, those kind of things.
Talakiti
Sorry,
or
Billy, you can't live here anymore. There's the Cat's Lair coming.
Okay, now this thing is going to be big. There has been people that has been taking that second last tease that you did of the control room, where they can actually scale a figure versus the size of the thing. Can you tell us how big is it going to be?
It's big. It's a little bit bigger than Snake Mountain, but not much bigger than Snake Mountain.
Height or width or
You're going to have to wait and see. Come on.
Okay. No, that's fine. And it's got 3 levels or 4 levels, or should we just wait and see?
It's all digging with you, Egmond. It's all digging.
Always.
We'll start showing it off here. Obviously we're about 2.5 weeks away. The speculation is part of the fun of it. What's it going to be? What's it going to do? How's it going to work? I will say with 100% authority that the Thunder Tank does not fit under the paw.
Okay, that's good because
physically impossible.
It would have been massive. I mean that.
Well, at that point, it would have been a small home.
Okay.
So that obviously cannot work. I think so. It's taking the Cat's Lair aesthetic, making sure that there's playability and playrooms that makes sense, like the control room and different things. But obviously, if every single piece was to scale, it would never work. I think it turned out rather amazing. And I think people will be pretty excited by it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making it. But I think it's going to be everything you guys hope for.
Okay,
and that's still reasonable to own.
That's the thing.
As opposed to it's the size of like a dining room table. Like that's not reasonable to own anymore.
Yes. Can you divulge what the price is?
Yes, the price, at least domestically. So the domestic price will be $650 plus $100 flat shipping within the United States.
That's cheap.
Well, I don't know about cheap, but it's not the
It's not
$1,000 plus that
1,000.
everybody's
Yes.
assuming it's gonna be 1,000 plus. No, it's $650 plus $100 flat shipping anywhere in the domestic United States, and then we will be working with partners around the globe for everywhere else in the globe. So, here will be your partner for Asia or Australia or, or Europe or whoever, and then you'll be able to get it direct from them.
Okay. Will you be offering payment plans as well?
Of course, of course. We've got a payment plan system that's already implemented into the website now that you can use on anything. And I think you can choose the length of your payment plan anywhere up to 12 months.
Yes, correct.
So, yeah.
Now the payment plan that I've seen on your website, it appears that it's only for US residents. Is there an option for international ones? Correct?
For international, you'll have to deal with the international partners. So in your case, Egmont, you will have a specific partner that you have to go to. And then I assume, I'm making an assumption because I haven't been in the weeds of all the talking to my sales team to negotiate how they're working it out country by country. I will assume that everybody's going to have payment plans of some sort, but I don't know the specifics on each country and how much and how they would do it. But I do know that, that's part of the requirement.
Okay. Then there's, in one of the teasers you showed that there is electronics, light up eyes, the emblem that's going on. Is it true? Is there electronics in this layer?
There are electronics in this layer.
Okay, because that was one thing that we discussed a while back, that it actually affects how you ship it. How did you get around it?
You're going to have to put the batteries in.
Okay, fantastic.
Because we can't. If we ship it with battery, it becomes a whole safety issue. There's all sorts of international restrictions that vary from country to country on anything with a battery. As silly as it sounds, we're trying to see if we can sort it out so it can ship with the battery in it. But most likely we will have to ship it to you and say, this is the battery you get. Please put it in here. But that's not 100% guaranteed yet. We may be able to work our way around it, but it does make everything very difficult. Same thing. I was shipping a box this morning at the post office, and they all ask you questions. Is this flammable? Is it this? And does it have a lithium-ion battery? Like, you can't ship batteries easily.
Okay. Now, in that tease with the control room, there was a liner that we saw from the back, and that was a pinless version. Now, that's got a lot of people asking, is there a lino variant included in the layer or with the layer, or is that just a digital mock-up?
Just digital mock-up.
Okay. Talking about mock-ups, do you have the artwork for the box that you will be showing off soon? Has that been the same artist that did the Thunder Tank?
Yes.
Okay. The size of the box when you compare it to the Thunder Tank.
You're all in the weeds on me here. We don't know yet. It's either going to be one gigantic box or two big boxes. Most likely, the way we view it now, and obviously this, as we go through the production process, this is likely to change. Well, let me put it everything's going to change from what we think is going to happen now till when it comes out, guaranteed. But the way we're thinking about it now is to actually ship in two boxes. So you'll get box A and box B, because it's more effective to send two large boxes than one extra large box. So that's how we've planned it right now. It may change, but right now the plan is two boxes.
Okay, so does that mean that the cat's lair needs to be assembled?
There will be a little bit of assembly, yeah. But it's no different than when you got Snake Mountain. There was some assembly too.
Yes, of course. Okay. Now, you've been teasing about the Burbles that's been busy building this layer with Super7. And
I've been
last
teasing about the
time,
burbles, or have you just been wanting me to be teasing about the
no,
burbles?
it's actually there, black and white. It says the Burbles and Super7 have been building Cat's Lair. So I know you said that they're far down the line. Are they still very far away?
They're still far down the line.
Okay, that's a pity. I like.
Look at the sad face. Everybody on YouTube just saw it. Just
No, you know, I know they're like the Ewoks to you, and you dislike them, or you're not very fond of them. But
it's not that we're not going to get there. We're just not there today. I got you. I prioritized Cat's Lair over burbles. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'll take that any day. Okay. Now this playset is obviously a massive thing that we're going to have to find space for. How many figures do you think it will accommodate on the display? Because it does look like there's areas for it to be on the paws for the figures to stand there, and then there's a platform below the door.
Like I said, you'll have to wait and see. We'll have it on display at San Diego, and then you can see everything that we've planned for you. Okay. But it should have a lot of playability.
Okay.
A lot of places for people to hang out.
Those claws, they can lift up, right?
See, once again, we're all I've done is shown you a couple teaser pics, and you're like, I'm down into the weeds now. I'm not going to give you any more weeds. I don't. That sounded wrong. We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. We got to build up the anticipation. Okay. You know.
No, I've been talking to a lot of people.
I've already given away all sorts of top secrets. You've got the reveal and the price and the size and the boxes and all sorts of stuff. Hagen, you're winning already.
Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you. I'll move on.
See, now that makes it sound like a really, magnanimous interchange, which it isn't. It's just like the reveal is coming in a couple weeks, and then we'll be able to talk more in depth about all those questions. But right now, I want you to think about it. I want you to get excited about it.
Yeah, I can tell you that when that first tease came out, a lot of people were saying that this is not Ultimates. It's going to be too big. Obviously, the $1,000 price came in, and then when electronics were mentioned, then it jumped to 1,250. So there's been a lot of talk about this thing, but the fact that it's 650, and when I look at the teasers from Wave 9, it does show figures in scale comparison to the layer. This thing is big enough.
Those are more just generic backgrounds.
Okay. Yeah. So this thing is.
I wish it was that. I wish it was that sophisticated that we were teasing it that way, but no.
Well, it is exciting. That's the bottom line. It's exciting, and tell me. The one last question about Cat's Lair. Is it going to be like a Kickstarter type of thing? Do you need to reach a certain number of layers?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I would say, which may lead into some of the other companies, everything, in the last year has definitely slowed down. So we just need to make sure that there's times where I'm very confident that we'll get to stuff, but we've had a few releases lately that we didn't get the kind of orders we needed, and we've had to cancel them. So especially on a project this size, we have to be very, very sure that we get to the goal. Now, do I feel confident we're going to get to the goal? Of course, or otherwise I wouldn't make it. But, there'll be the goal, then there'll be stretch goals, and we'll do it. Very similar to a Kickstarter.
Okay. So like we've mentioned at the start, or you said we don't want to talk about Wave 9, but let's move over to Wave 9 now. You surprised us like big time, and I know the irony is you said in the last talk we had that Wave 9 is coming out in July. It just appeared out of nowhere, and there's quite a diverse amount of opinions about. This is 50-50, Toon and LJN inspired. And when we spoke last, it was said that Wave 9 was already set, but Wave 10 would include the first LJN. What has changed since then?
Just, as we try to plan out, what's going to happen in 10, 11, 12, as we look to the future and we look at what's happening and what people are buying and what they're excited about. I mean, Um, the LJN wave sold pretty well. People seem to be excited about that. It was a way to come back to some of their characters that they were pretty pumped on. And then when you start talking about some of the deeper cut characters, like Achilla, um, you know, as we get deeper and deeper and deeper, those numbers go further and, less people order and less people order. So we just looked at the response that we got from last time. What are people actually buying? And so then we rebalanced out the waves. So there was a couple of things that people are, we've got the continuation of the line, which we definitely have in Wily Cat and Chilla, but also a couple LJNs, because right now that seems to be more popular than the continuation of the line. So how do I keep people engaged? If you decided that you like the LGNs and here's a whole wave that you're not going to buy, all right, well, maybe we just won't. I'll just skip it all together. We just kind of said, let's just, rather than keeping it, I don't know, like one of those plates where you have your dinner and they have the dividers so none of the food touches. Like, why don't we just, we'll grab two from here and two from here and then move out. So that's roughly how we're thinking about it right now, is just trying to find that line where we can continue to go further and further into the ThunderCats world and keep people excited about it. But at the same time, like, maybe I'm overthinking about it, maybe I'm over rationalizing, but maybe you're that person who was like, if it was all 4 deep cut characters that you didn't want, maybe you wouldn't buy the line. But if it's like, oh, I'm gonna get this and this, well, I like that, maybe I'll pick up Chilla too. We'll just kind of see. So we'll see how people react to this wave, and how they buy this wave, and then just see. But there's a lot of characters in the works, so I I want to keep making this stuff for quite a long time. But it was more just a reaction to uh the last LJN wave, which I think surprised us. We thought it was going to be more of a side note, if you will, to your ThunderCats collection, and it seemed like that was a place where a lot of people really came back and said, no, 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 no. I want to stay with the core. I want to stay with the toys I had, and that there was something about that LJN wave that really got people excited. So I don't know, that's a long way of saying, instead of keeping them separate, we just kind of rejiggered the waves and made it 2 and 2.
So will all future waves be 2 and 2?
It's not necessarily that they'll all be 2 and 2. It's not going to be quite that rigid, because I think there's a couple other curveballs that we've got up our sleeve. So there's some cool characters, and then there's some I think wave 11 and 12 have some unexpected things in them. So in the end, if you were to say, here's wave 10, 11, and 12, and I said, here's a year's worth of figures, instead of doing them these 4, these 4, these 4, we did a little bit of this. It's still the same 12 figures, but they're just sequenced a little differently. But it won't be quite so rigid as like 2 and 2 as it appears now.
Okay.
So there might be 1 in one wave and then 2 in another wave or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I was quite excited when Java and Grun both were revealed. I didn't expect either of them. I expected Grun to come maybe in the next wave, but that has brought some excitement with me looking at the current LJN lot that I've got, and I'm like, I can add some more to this now. I don't have to wait very long to expand that line, and then also have the Toon ones. And it's like you said, if you don't want the LJN, then and you do only want the Toon, then you can still get the Toon. You don't have to worry about it. Then you've introduced the super pack at last with ThunderCats now as well. This is a nice twist, but then there's a couple of people asking, but what if I wanted those heads, and I only wanted the Toon side of the figures? How would you react to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to make everybody happy. And once again, the reality of it is the figures that are being released are the figures we would have released. What we're trying to figure out a way, not try, it's an oversimplistic way, but once again, everybody's slowed down on buying a lot over the last year. And, our goal, if you will, is to make sure that we sell a certain amount of figures. If I sell that figure at my retail website, we keep more dollars than if I sell it to wholesale to a partner. I mean, that's basic math. So I'm trying to give you an incentive. One is guaranteed in the future, first ship comes from Super7. And two, is there an incentive to buy from us? Changing packaging, like saying, oh, if you buy this figure from me and it's got an extra head versus not, and all that other stuff, becomes logistically very, very difficult. Whereas making this little pack is easier because it's separate. It doesn't affect the assembly of all the other figures. They don't have to be two different SKUs and two different blisters and keeping track of which ones are going where, all this other stuff. The other thing is that obviously, there's no way to say it without it's somebody reading into it very crassly, but I want you to collect the wave. So the reward is if you buy from me, if you're the person that buys from me and buys the entire wave, then we're going to build extra pieces for you. It's not that your other ones are losing pieces. So we're building extra pieces.
Yes.
I can understand why somebody would be like, I only want Jaga and I want that other head, because it feels like they're having something taken away from them. But that's not the intent. The intent is, rather selfishly, how do I convince people that they should buy from me instead of somebody else? And I don't know. There's no way for somebody to read into any of those comments without it sounding negative, without it sounding rude, without it sounding abusive or anything else. But the reality is right now, we need to be selling more units, or we need to be selling more units at DTC, so direct to consumer on our website, than at wholesale. If we can shift those percentages, it makes a difference to the business. And I think everybody knows, if you pay attention to collecting or toys in general, you have to know that all the collector brands the buying has slowed down over the last year. I would say since I really look at it, say September of last year, everything has slowed down, coupled with retailers having overbought, by mass amounts. Like, part of the reason you're not seeing as much new stuff on the shelves is because those retailers are still full of the stuff they bought before. So they can't buy anything new till they sell what's old. So they're selling all this old stuff at discount. You're like, man, like nobody wanted it. It's not that nobody wanted it. It's just that they bought too much. So we are in a really interesting position where when we look at our sell-through at retail, it's very, very, very high. But the people buying our stuff at retail don't have budgets because the other stuff they bought didn't sell. So they can't buy from us even though we sold through. So in response to all of that dynamic is like, hey, then we need, rather than changing sort of everything or putting things on hold, we need to then ideally drive that customer to buy from us instead of someone else. So I don't know. Is that a long-winded explanation?
I've also noticed now these past few months with a lot of Ultimates that's become on sale on your website, and I've seen a lot of in stock, not on sale, in stock items from past.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, so that would be retailers that bought or ordered Ultimates and then cut down their orders once they were at port. We had quite a few of those where, we build to order. So we put it out there, everybody orders from us. We have wholesale partners that buy in we place that order. Well, as you know, it takes a year, sometimes a year and a half. So, too long for those figures to show up. Well, those figures start showing up, and we have retail partners that say, "Oh, I don't want all of that." I'm like, but you ordered it. And they're like, too bad. I'm cutting my order and I'm not going to pick it up. So then we're stuck holding that inventory. So then we actually get in-stock inventory of Ultimates, where in the past we would never have in-stock inventory. So then we make them for sale or try to find other partners that want some of them.
Okay. So this is not something.
The most obvious would have been the last Power Rangers wave.
Mm-hmm.
That was fairly significant, not significant, but a fairly decent cancellation on that from one retailer, where it's very frustrating.
So is this is obviously they're not something that we can expect in the future to be able to purchase a wave after it's come in stock if we didn't pre-order it.
No, it shouldn't be. Like I said, everything that we have in stock, usually what we have is we have a 2% defective rate that we put in. So if I, if I make 1,000 of something, I would make an extra 20 for defect replacement. So if somebody got one in the mail and it was broken or the paint was wrong or anything else like that, we have replacement parts. And then if nobody sent one in, we'd have 20 extra pieces, and then we'd just either sell them to a partner or put them on the website and sell through. That's normally the only inventory we have on Ultimates. But I would say that the stuff that was ordered Q1, Q2 of 2022 that's arriving now or arrived earlier this year, that's the stuff where we've had cancellations, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got 10% of inventory that I never would have had before. Mm. But because we don't typically carry inventory, we don't have a customer. I don't have anybody ready for that. Where other customers that we have do, they carry inventory sometimes for years, for the whole point of being the only person that has it.
Okay. If I can just go back to the super pack that we spoke about earlier.
Yep.
We did mention before that people have asked about effects for the ThunderCat. Have you considered
effects for the ThunderCat?
Yeah, I like blast effects or things that you can put on the guns and so on. Is there an opportunity to make like a Thunder Tank effect pack where you have stickers like damage, like you've got with a party wagon that's coming out, things that you can put on your Thunder Tank, or fire effects or things like that? Is that something that you think there would be a market for to sell?
Possibly. We don't have anything in the works at the moment. I think we talked, and you are right. I remember talking about before of just weapons pack kind of thing is a good idea. We haven't done it yet, but that's a good idea. It would be really interesting to, it's always that fine line between, do you make it license specific, or do you make it, or could you make it generic enough that you could put it on a ThunderCat and a GI Joe or something like that? But I still like the idea. I will be honest and say, it didn't. I wrote it down and then got kind of caught up on other things I was working on, so I haven't come back to that idea yet. But I do like the idea. I think there's something there.
Okay. The exclusive that we just had, Chitara, the glowing running one.
Yep.
She was a little bit more pricey than the standard figure. Is that because, like you said before, especially for glow-in-the-dark figures, that there's a massive spike in plastic prices for glow-in-the-dark?
It's not plastic, it's the pigment. It's the powder. It's the glow powder that you buy. Most everything else, COVID pricing has come back down. Shipping containers have come back down. Times are better. Some of the raw material prices are better. But for whatever reason, glow powder is still, gold. So it's just expensive to buy the glow powder. So there's a slight markup for glow.
Okay. Back to Wave 9. We've got our second lunar tag here. which is fantastic. I'm very glad to see Chilla.
I was going to say, this is the one you've been waiting for, right?
Yes, yes. Can we expect Lunatics in all future waves?
There are
One per
upcoming
wave?
attacks. Like I said, it's all kind of rearranged a little bit, but you'll get your Lunatics.
Okay, all right. A character like Luna, very small, little screaming woman, and her big beast Amok, would they be a combo like a two-pack where they go together, or would you sell her separately like you've done with Krang from Turtles, with different versions of her?
She'd probably be a two-pack. You'd almost think about her almost like it's a two-pack, but it's almost like you almost have to think of it almost like a vehicle, I think. It's like that's her vehicle, even though it's not.
Because she is
Yeah,
big.
because they kind of have to go together.
Okay. Then talking about the LJN side of this, they come with the exact weapons that they had when they were the vintage toys. But now we've got some extra heads with them that are very cool. But when you compare Groon with Jaga, Groon has no extra hands, where Jaga does have a couple of extra hands. Is there a reason why he doesn't come with any extra hands?
Let me double check. Now that you bring that up, that is there, but let me double check because we've got the hands tooled.
Okay.
Yeah, let me figure out what the reasoning was behind that. I thought it was. You're right. It doesn't make sense. It should have some of the hands. That's weird. I wonder if it just got missed in render somehow.
Okay.
Let me double check. Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I got to phone a friend on that one.
That's good. Then tell me, both Java and Chilla, they've got capes with them, and are they both fabric, or do they have a plastic option as well?
I think they're both fabric.
Okay, so there's no extra plastic option like with that Java.
I don't think so. I'm fairly certain. I will double check for you, but I'm fairly certain that they're both cloth capes.
So it doesn't specify that there's a plastic option. It just says that it's a cloth cape. I just wanted to check if there is.
Yeah. I think they're just, I think we also, to give it a point of difference between the other Jaga, we purposely, was like, it's cloth. It's,
Okay. And these capes, are they wired or not?
I would assume they're wired because most of the time we wire the capes. It's rare that we don't wire the cape, so I would assume that they're wired.
Okay.
See, now I have to send you an email separately with all the answers here, and then you'll be like at the end of the video and go, here's the email I got with the answers. I would assume that they're wired because we wire all the others.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. Now we've wave 9 is open now, but can we see wave 10 this year?
Yes, you'll see wave 10 this year. It'll be towards the very end of the year, obviously, because wave 9 is happening right now, and then you have Cat Slayer. So, we need to give you a little bit of breathing room before we do wave 10. So I think wave 10 is either November or December.
So there's been some cancelled figures in other waves that you mentioned before. If that is something that happens with ThunderCats, you need to correct me if I'm wrong, but with Star Trek, there was that Whoopi Goldberg character that was moved over to the next wave. Is that something that is going to be possible with ThunderCats if a figure doesn't sell enough that it's moved over to try again?
Well, we in that first wave, Whoopi is the one that didn't get enough units to make. So we brought it back a second time trying to see if there were enough people, but there weren't enough. So Whoopi actually got canceled. Okay. So Guinan, not Whoopi, Guinan got canceled. So Picard and Worf will get made, but Guinan will not. Same thing, Rescuers as a whole, that wave I love those figures. I love that movie. It was so scary as a kid, like when she's going down the well and the skull, and you know, it was. I love that movie, but people, it didn't get the kind of numbers that it needed to, so we canceled. So the whole Rescuers wave got canceled. I think we just canceled something else too. But yeah, it's been a very interesting sort of year. We're definitely, and I don't know if it's a lull, you know, if we talk about Super 7 as a whole, obviously, we've been on a pretty steady growth for many, 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 many years, and that continued through COVID. I don't like to believe that there was a COVID bump that just got all these people buying toys. I think that we've been steady through it. It wasn't like a big spike for us. It was just steady. I do believe, though, that as much as the world doesn't want to talk about it, or the US doesn't want to talk about it, that coming into sort of Q3 of last year, when everybody started talking recession, I think that there is a real feeling in this country, or there was at that time, and still is to a degree. People are very nervous. I think people got a little ahead of themselves in some ways, and we've definitely seen a pullback on buying of non-essentials, and we are not an essential item. So the numbers that we could expect to see are surprisingly lower than we normally see. Not in all cases, but the numbers across the board are down, and then the numbers in some cases are surprisingly down. So, we just have to be more pragmatic. We can't just make it to make it. That doesn't work. I've got, there's people here that I'm responsible for. I'm responsible for, putting a roof over their head and helping their kids go to school. So we just have to be, in I would say the last few years, if you were to go back pre-pandemic, Super 7 very much was always like, hey, we're going to be very clear that, we got to get the orders or this can't get made. And as we continue to grow over the last 3 or 4 years, we got to a point where we could assume that the floor was big enough always for us to get something made. And sometimes we just hit the floor, but that was okay. And I think right now we've had a few that have not hit the floor. And so we have to be much more pragmatic about what we're doing, because as much as everyone believes that there's, tens of thousands of people buying this stuff, it's not that way. All of these fandoms are very finite and very specific. And if there's 1,000 guys that love ThunderCats and you make 1,010, it doesn't matter what you do with those last 10. There's never any person to buy them. So I'm saying that because we're talking about ThunderCats, but it's true with all of these franchises, is that they're very finite. They're very niche. They have wonderful collectors and fans, but it's not something that is for everyone. And so as that's tightened up, we've got to be much more tight as well.
Okay.
It sounds all doom and gloomy. I mean, it's not meant to be. I believe that if the pendulum had swung this way during COVID, I feel like the reactive pendulum has swung almost too far the other way. And then I feel like we're heading back to the middle again. And then the middle will be great.
So Cat Slayer is going to bring us back to the middle.
Yeah.
So Cat Slayer will bring us back to the middle, right? Get everybody back on board.
I think people I think people are very excited for Cat Slayer. I think we did a really, really good job on it, where it looks and feels like Cat Slayer, but it also has all the playability that you want in a size that's reasonable to expect. So I do think that's going to be good.
Well, I'm still shocked at the price, Brian. I have to say that I think that there's going to be a lot of people. It's a good thing, and there is definitely going to be people that I've read it that they said if it's the same as Snake Mountain in price, then I'm gonna get it. But if it's way over it, then I'm not gonna get it because it's gonna be too expensive. So people are gonna buy it. I'm sure about it. It looks good.
Well, in 2.5 weeks, we'll all know for sure, right?
So tell me, Brian, Um, reaction. There has been some leaks or some teasers on Big Bad Toy Store of variants that you've done before in Ultimates that is now scheduled to come later in the year. How does that fall into place with all the other reaction figures that of characters we haven't gotten yet, like Pumaira and the kittens and so on? Is there a wave 3 coming out, or
Yeah, I mean,
it?
ThunderCats reaction got, for whatever reason, very complicated set of like how many SKUs can you actually make a month of reaction and all these other initiatives and things that we're working on. So ThunderCats kind of got set to the side a little bit on reaction. I'm not saying that in a negative way, I'm just saying it just pragmatically, like we're making sure that we got the ultimates out, but if we needed to find some space, I was like, ThunderCats reaction slowed down a bit. So we're just kind of picking it back up. There's a couple waves of ThunderCats reaction in the works. The first one is coming out, is mostly, like I said, a recolor wave. Simply because we had a couple people asking specifically for specific characters, especially after we did Ghost Jaga. So you'll see that first before you'll see the new sculpts.
Okay. Will we see both of those waves this year, or
you'll see one wave this year, and then you'll see 2 waves next year.
Okay, fantastic. Now, can we go out of space and head to Limbo for just a little bit and talk about what's going on with SilverHawks?
Know what we're talking about?
Yes, sir. That's what we're talking about.
SilverHawks, the next wave is fucking amazing. It was supposed to come out last month. Supposed to come out in June. And just a bunch of approval stuff and some technical stuff we were working through didn't have it ready, and it was actually like literally going to go live last week on Thursday. But we had already sent out, but we hadn't, because of some approval stuff, we hadn't put out the teaser for SilverHawks yet, but we had put out the teaser for ThunderCats. And I made, if you will, the executive decision. I was like, the executive decision was, I can't ask the collector to buy ThunderCats and SilverHawks at the same time, followed up by Cat's Lair, because it's too much all at once. So you have ThunderCats now, Cat's Lair next, SilverHawks will be August.
Okay.
So we moved it from June to August so that we could spread it out a little bit, because otherwise I know that ThunderCats collector is the SilverHawks collector, and there's only so much I can ask somebody to pay at any given time, and having both those waves on top of each other might have been acceptable if there was no Cat's Lair, but because we're also doing Cat's Lair, I did not feel like we could do that. So literally, I think it was supposed to go quick live on Friday of last week, and I think on Thursday I was like, no, just push it. We need to push it. We're going to push it to August, which is, complicates everything, but it will happen in August. I think it's like August 15th or 18th, somewhere in there, but it'll happen in August, since obviously San Diego is, the 20th of July. Yes. So we'll give you another month after that, kind of thing. So okay. So if you're a ThunderCats and SilverHawks collector, the next 3 months will be amazing.
Fantastic. So jumping from wave 4 to wave 5, the other day you let slip that the Copper Kid and his racer is going to be in wave 5. Is that coming out later this year?
Yeah, I was just rearranging everything again yesterday to make sure. Let me double check. Hold on. I assume you cannot see my screen right now. You can only see me, right?
No. I can see it in
Huh?
your reflection in your glasses. No, I'm teasing.
Because it would be bad if you could see it. That would be bad. It is January because we moved the toy to August. Copper Kid and Space Racer have moved to January.
Okay.
So everything slid out a little bit. Same thing to give space between the time that I'm asking you to buy the next thing.
Okay. That wave in specifically, is it 4 characters and in the racer, or is it going to be 3 characters and the racer?
It's going to be 2 characters in the racer. So yeah. So so obviously July is ThunderCats 9, San Diego is ThunderCats Cat's Lair, August is SilverHawks 4, November is ThunderCats 10, January is SilverHawks 5.
Are there any other vehicles considered for SilverHawks?
Yes, there are.
Big ones?
I can't talk about it.
Okay.
You're just like it's okay. Everybody will forgive you for taking a drink of water and coughing, Eggman. Just
no, that's fine. It's just yeah. I'll cut this out. I'll cut it out, don't worry.
It's showing your humanity. Come on.
Okay, back to wave 4. Are we going to see any toy variants in there? Like, you've got the perfect opportunity to make us a green buzzsaw, and that figure is fucking amazing, I have to say.
The buzzsaw figure is the same thing. It's so big. It's deceptively large. I think when you see wave 4, you will be astounded, excited. You'll throw a party. How about that?
Yes. Okay. Cool. There's a difference in plastic in some of the SilverHawks characters. Certain pieces of the figures are a little bit more softer, like that big gun that Monstar has. It's not the hard, rigid plastic. It's more of a softer that you can slightly bend versus a harder. I don't know how to put it any other way, but is it because they've been made at different factories, or is it just something that you chose because of the size of the figures, that they were made of a different type of plastic?
In the case of that gun specifically, one of the things that doesn't seem like it would be a factor, but it's a huge factor, is warping. So when you pull the plastic out of the mold, it's very hot, and you're pulling it out of the mold, and then they throw it in a bucket of water to cool it off and everything. Is keeping something perfectly straight is very difficult. So a lot of times what happens is you pull it out of the mold, it might have a slight warp to it, so they heat it back up and put it in a form like a jig to cool so it's straight. The softer the plastic is, the easier it is to get into a jig and heat up. Not to get into a jig, that sounds wrong, but the easier it is to have it be malleable.
Okay.
And get it to the right, what it's supposed to look like. So if I make it out of a super rigid plastic, especially something that's really long, it's supposed to be straight, heating that up and having it be malleable without cracking is harder. So I think in the case of the gun, we probably ended up with a slightly softer plastic so that we can make sure that they all delivered straight.
Okay. Wave 3 for SilverHawks has been pushed back a little bit. And there has been some changes as well on the ThunderCats. Is it because of the factories where they're being made that some get, like, wave 8 will come before wave 7 now? Is it because they've made it different factories?
There are a lot of times it comes back down to just perfecting the molds and the tools. Like if you'll make a mold at the tooling shop, then it'll go to the factory, and then the factory and so going back, you make a mold at a tooling shop, and they have a machine that they test everything on, and gets it all dialed in to the way it works. Then it goes to the factory. Factory has similar machines, but they're never always the same. And you retweak it again to make sure that it actually works in production. In as much, sometimes there's things that just can't get 100% resolved. And so then if you have to modify the tooling, it has to go back to the tooling factory to get adjusted, and then back to the tooling factory, it then comes back to the factory after it's been adjusted. In a case like that, there was just a couple parts, not even the figures, like a couple parts that just weren't right. So if you have to retool the part, it holds everything else up. So in the case of Wave 8, in that regard, like it's leapfrogged a little bit because of that. Like development sometimes just goes faster for certain waves and not others. In this case, like in the past, the factories that we're at now were the factories that were problematic for us a year ago and we're having issues with, we're not using. So we shouldn't see any of that, like, oh, factory to factory issue. It's more just how the development process is going. For Turtles collectors, they'll see the same thing with like Turtles, where like Wave 8 and Wave 9 will deliver before Wave 7.
Yes.
And you're like, why is that happening? It's all at the same factory. It's just that one of the characters in Wave 7 has just, for whatever reason, the tooling on it's just gone haywire on this guy's waist. And it's like, well, if that's wrong, the whole figure's wrong. So
okay, that makes sense. Then there was something with Wave 4 of SilverHawks that delayed its initial release, that there was something that you had the factory, you wanted it a specific way, and they just said that it was going to break. Was that resolved, obviously, now, because you've now been ready with Wave 4? Can you say what that was?
That was part of our delays, getting it up and running, and then coupled with some just some other general approvals. But yeah, everything is ready. It's just now, wait, I'm in the middle of ThunderCats right now, so I can't talk about SilverHawks.
Okay. Tell me, are we going to see any exclusives for SilverHawks? We haven't had any yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Next year, maybe?
Maybe. There's nothing really on the docket right now, mostly because we've just got waves of SilverHawks planned.
Okay. And then for ThunderCats, any other exclusives? I know we've got lots going on and coming in, but you know, we like the odd variant and glowing.
I know. Right now, there's nothing specific on the docket. Right now, it's just, you know, business as usual, 12 figures a year. Let's go.
Okay. No reactions for SilverHawks still?
Not yet.
But there will be.
Yeah, in the future, yes.
Okay. Just one last thing on SilverHawks is that puzzle and the glassware that you had on your website. I'm assuming that it has sold out. Is there any chance of restocking them or getting them back in stock or making more?
Let me check. I'm not sure. We should be able to make more. I don't know where it's at. Meaning we may be sold through, maybe they got more. That's a case where if it sells at a certain rate, you know, I hate to say it this way, it sounds so weird, but it's like, you know, my sales team would just be like, hey, we got to make those again. You know, I won't even know about it. They'll be like, hey, we sold a bunch of those, we need more. Or if they're like, oh, it sold okay, we're done, we move on. I don't know, because I haven't put together, you know, another capsule around SilverHawks. So if we were doing another capsule like we did in the beginning, then we'd really go back and go, where are we at with this stuff? It's not on my radar right now, because right now what's on my radar is what's happening in Wave 4. So I haven't thought about it in that regard. I'm sure somebody will not like that answer. But you know, we did that group of things. Let me find out. If it sold super well and quickly, we should have it. If it just sold moderate and we sold through it, then it's like we did that. Check it off the list. But we also do need to come back and do another little capsule around SilverHawks at some point. So it's another question for my email follow-up with you.
Okay, awesome. There's still no opportunity for you to make clothing and shirts and puzzles and all kinds of other ThunderCats team stuff. I know you mentioned before your license is just for action figures and reaction, but is that something that you would like to explore for ThunderCats?
Once again, I'd have to see, because we just got our renewal, so we've got updated terms. I'll have to see where we're at. I'd say we just got it. I think they went back on a couple points. So it's always, every 2 years, it's a whole nother set of rules. So, and this set of rules is not 100% set in stone yet. So hopefully at some point we'll be able to, but not yet.
Okay. Can you add ThunderCats 2011 variants of the characters in that little contract as an addendum, please?
I didn't know anybody wanted those.
Oh, I get a lot of people asking me, what about those? So, I mean, you now have two different options of toon versions and then the toy versions, but there are some people asking about the 2011 versions. Would that be something that you would look at, or would that be only much later once you've run through LJN and stuff like that?
It's worth looking at. I didn't think that there was a lot of people that wanted those, but I could be wrong. Because I know that lots of people want ThunderCats Roar.
Of course they do. Oh, goodness. What size would you make those?
What, ThunderCats Roar?
Yes. Reaction size.
Yeah.
Good heavens.
The funny part is my kids obviously have no context for old ThunderCats. They thought ThunderCats Roar was fine. They liked it.
Yeah.
They really liked the Teen Titans Go episode about ThunderCats. They love that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to mention specifically about Cat's Lair or Wave 9?
Just that, there's a bunch of stuff that is finally landing too. Why am I blanking on the name right now? The 3-pack is coming.
Yes, the Reptilians.
Landing. Yeah. I just feel like over the next couple months, you're going to see a lot of stuff in your mailbox, which will be great. It kind of comes in these waves, since nothing really happens from the last month of January. Nothing happens during February. And then March, the factors are kind of 50% capacity. So they really start working in March, but you really don't get to capacity in April. Then things start shipping out in May and June. So people don't actually start that little Chinese New Year holiday, or Lunar New Year, but since we make most everything in China, it's Chinese New Year. You really start then seeing another uptick in shipping then by the time it gets to people in July and August, and even in September. So every year you'll see this big, this sort of lull into a big delivery. Same thing. You have the big delivery where everything's got to get out before CNY. So it all ships in January. So then on February, March. So then April, all of a sudden there's this huge glut of stuff that shows up in April, and then it dies back off again, and then jumps back up in July and August. So I think there's going to be a lot of things landing in people's hands. I think people will be excited about that. Okay,
that's something to look forward to. I mean, earlier this year we had a lot of stuff coming. Last year at the same time, this year, this time of year last year, it was also like that. So yeah, something good to look forward to. And
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff.
So with Cat's Lair now almost done and dusted, can we look at other playsets when we get into production, like Mamra's Tomb?
Let me deliver Cat's Lair before I work on the next one. You haven't even seen it yet, and you're already asking for the next playset.
I was waiting for that response.
Come on, man.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
come on, buy another one. No, don't worry, it's coming. Buy another one.
Yes.
Come on.
Okay, that's fantastic. Brian, thank you so much. It's always fun talking to you about ThunderCats and SilverHawks.
Yep.
Can you maybe just tell the fans out there of TigerSharks, is that something that you want to make or can make or trying to
TigerSharks
make?
is on the calendar.
So TigerSharks is coming.
TigerSharks is coming, but we've got a little ways to go before we get it most likely, I believe, things can change. It will be Q1 of 25.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
because we're already in, July is Q3 of 23. So that's 18 months out.
Okay.
So, which sounds like a long way, but also for someone like us, it is not a long ways away. That means we start working on it in earnest in the next 6 months.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Well, that's a way to end an interview. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
And we'll see you at Comic-Con. And of course, a picture next to Cat's Lair would be awesome so that we can see how big this thing is.
Yep.
Okay.
What we'll do for San Diego is before it opens one day, we'll get you on a live stream and we can carry around the camera around it for you.
Thank you.
That you can, because I'm sure you already have like 800 questions. Like, it'll show up on preview night, and by Thursday morning, it'll be like, okay, so tell me about this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And I'll be like, all right, well, this is what's going on here.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. And we look forward to seeing what's coming next.
Definitely.